From the hair, the makeup, the fashion, and the attitude, Bratz were never just dolls. They became a cultural statement. They were edgy, they were diverse, they were Y2K baddies. They represented girls who didn't fit the blonde, blue eyed standard that dominated early 2000s media. And yet, in 2007, Hollywood took this powerful brand and turned it into something so painfully watered down. Today, I want to talk about why the live action Bratz movie failed, not just at the box office, but as a representation of what Bratz stood for. This will be a genuine examination of what went wrong, from the miscasting and colorism to the generic plot, the missing villains, the production issues, the ugly fashion choices, and even the lawsuit drama that affected everything behind the scenes. I'll also break down how Hollywood erased the cultural identity of the Bratz girls, how marketing sabotaged the film, and why, despite everything, people still call this movie a comfort film. Bratz entered the toy industry in 2001, manufactured by MGA Entertainment. They were created during a time when Barbie dominated the doll aisles. But unlike Barbie, Bratz dolls didn't promote a life of perfect careers and princess fantasies. They were unapologetically stylish girls with attitude.
This Sophie's taking the school bus, Chloe.
I know exactly what you mean, Sasha. I just hate how I look in yellow.
Each Bratz girl had a defined cultural background. That was part of why they resonated with girls who weren't used to seeing themselves represented in mainstream toys. We had Yasmin, Pretty Princess, specifically Afro Latina in the early concept materials. Sasha was Bunny Boo, a dark skinned black girl, bold, confident, and musical. Jade was East Asian, known as Cool Cat, and she was an experimental fashion icon. And Chloe was Angel, white and blonde, but she wasn't the default leader the way Barbie had been. She was emotional, sporty, and dramatic. Bratz cartoons and animated films like Bratz Rock Angels and Genie Magic had heart and personality. They were also a bit dark if you think about it, but the stories highlighted real friendship, fashion ambition, music, and independence. They weren't cliquey mean girls. They actually called out fake friendship culture.
Well, no way am I gonna let Bradine and the Tweevils destroy my dream again.
You mean our dream, Cool Cat?
Nothing's gonna stop us from launching Bratz magazine.
So what are we gonna do?
Yasmin, did you say they only let rock bands into the concert? Are you thinking what I'm thinking? Let's become a rock band!
So, when a live action film was announced, fans were excited but also cautious. Adapting Bratz to live action meant understanding the soul of the brand, and unfortunately, that definitely did not happen.
The story of four girls, unique, with a friendship so strong it rocks the world. The Bratz, in their first ever live-action film. High school will never be the same.
Casting is one of the biggest reasons this movie failed from the beginning. This isn't about whether the actresses were pretty enough, they were all talented and very beautiful. The problem is, they didn't match how the Bratz girls were written culturally or visually.
700 or 1,000 submissions in the first hour or 2 hours.
We went out to find girls who are not terribly defined. Therefore, they symbolize diversity.
In terms of the look, we tried to cast people who, resemble the dolls.
So many talented kids, but there are certain ones that just stand up and you go, that's her.
Let's start with Yasmin. She was 100% whitewashed. Since the beginning, Yasmin was an Afro Latina. However, in the film, she was played by Natalia Ramos, a white Latina actress with no Afro Latin heritage. This basically erased the specific cultural identity Yasmin had always represented. She wasn't just Latina, she represented a type of Latina identity that was finally visible in mainstream media. Mixed heritage, curly hair, melanin in the skin, and Hollywood flattened that identity into something more market safe. It wasn't just inaccurate, it was erasure.
She walked in, and the second we saw her, we knew this girl was special.
She kind of looks like those actresses from the 30s and 40s, like a Lauren Bacall. When she's on film, she's absolutely stunning.
And then there was Sasha, which is a case of just pure colorism at this point. Sasha had always been a dark skinned black girl, and in the film, she was played by Logan Browning, who was a light skinned black actress. Again, this is not about attacking the actresses. Logan Browning is an excellent actress, but this is just a pattern in Hollywood. Lightening dark skinned characters to make them more marketable. Sasha's dark skin mattered. She represented thousands of little black girls who finally saw someone who looked like them in dolls, and casting a lighter actress erased that representation.
Audition, and I came back for a callback, and then they told me I didn't have it. And I went back home for like a week or so. You know, you settle with those kinds of things, and they call back and they're like, you know what, we're gonna try it again. And they tried it again, and I got it, and I was the happiest person on earth.
She really looks the most like the doll.
Chloe is a blonde white girl in the dolls, so on paper, Skylar Shea made sense. But Chloe had a strong character identity. Sporty, emotional, dramatic, a big personality, and in the movie, she came across quite flat, more sweet girl next door than actual Bratz energy.
She's here.
Hi, guys. Hey, girl.
And Jade was played by Janelle Parrish. And she was widely considered the only good casting. She looked and acted like Jade, angelic face with an edgy fashion side. She captured Jade's duality perfectly. If the rest of the cast had been handled with this much care, things could have been much more different.
Janelle Paris, who plays Jade, is, again, an amazing actress and an incredible singer. She plays piano. She's just ultra talented.
I got a call while I was in Disney World, and that's ironic because usually right when you go away for a trip, everything happens at once. My manager called me and they were like, you need to come back.
She was the perfect casting, and we went through so many Jades because it's a hard balance to be both those and play them authentically.
Bratz was originally praised for its diversity and for giving representation to girls who had been ignored in mainstream media. So when the film diminished that representation, it felt like a betrayal. Representation matters, especially for a brand that was built on it. The film reinforced Hollywood's long running preference for lighter skin and racially ambiguous casting, and fans noticed that immediately. Brats have a very specific look: defined lips, sharp liner, bold fashion, platform boobs, faux fur, denim skirts, chunky belts. They never gave minimalist, always maximalist. But the movie didn't really give that. No bold makeup, hardly any real fashion statements. They were all cardigans, jeans, and just casual teen clothes. It didn't give baddie, it gave Disney Channel extras. Considering a fashion brand film had little fashion, this alone just ruined the whole vibe of the film.
Fits. They dress you up in these amazing clothes you would never think to put together yourself, but when you see them, they're awesome.
Instead of telling a story about fashion, music, ambition, personality, or culture like the animated films did, the writers went with the most generic high school plot. Four girls go to school, there are cliques, they stop being friends, they reunite, and then they dance. That's not a brat story. The Bratz girls understood friendship from the beginning. They didn't fall out over petty drama. In fact, the animated Bratz universe made fun of that type of storyline.
Because we're unstoppable. We know we got it going on. We stick together, yeah.
Instead of being bold, girl boss, fashion icons, it just felt watered down.
Those brats.
Another issue with the film was the villain. If you grew up watching the Bratz animated films or playing the games, you already know who the real Bratz villains are. Berdine Maxwell and the Tweevils, Kirsty and Casey.
Two things are called Kirsty and Casey, but everyone at Styles High calls them the Tweevils, because they're twins and seriously evil.
They were dramatic, chaotic, iconic. Their rivalry with Bratz felt personal and entertaining. There was always a bigger story behind Berdine trying to sabotage them.
Well, look who's here. The fashion freaks. Yeah. Whatever. Whatever.
But instead of using these established antagonists, the movie gave us Meredith Baxter Dimley, a random, controlling class president with a weird obsession with school events. She didn't have any real connection to the girls, no interesting backstory, no real motive beyond I like being in charge. Her villainy just felt quite forced, not fun. It felt like a character written for any generic teen movie, not a Bratz adaptation.
It's Clover, isn't it? Chloe. Oopsies. Anyway, we're all dying of thirst, so you want to get us a soda? I'll take mine with a slice of lime. Oh, make that a lemon with a cherry. But, take off the stem and put in 2 umbrellas. One green and, one yellow.
Removing Berdine and the Tweevils stripped the film of personality. The villains were a huge part of the Bratz identity. Cutting them out was like making a Batman film without the Joker. It just didn't work. It felt empty. Another part of the problem is the way the movie handled the love interests. So all of the girls got a love interest except for Sasha. Chloe liked Cameron, the popular jock. Jade liked Dexter, he was a quiet science guy, and they bonded over that and also supported her fashion dreams. And Yasmin ended up with Dylan, who is deaf. Out of all of them, Yasmin and Dylan's story is the one that feels the most meaningful. In the two's first interaction, when they bump into each other, Yasmin says, "You don't sound deaf," and Dylan replies, "You don't look ignorant." I think that's one of the few genuine moments in the whole film. It's quick, but it actually teaches something. It challenges stereotypes and it just feels real.
Open eyes, I can see what's in front of me.
But besides that, the love stories are pretty flat and they don't really add much to the plot. And then there's Sasha. She's the only black Bratz girl and the only one without a love story. As a young viewer, that can feel disappointing. It's subtle, but it sends a message. I remember as a young girl watching the Bratz film and wondering why Sasha didn't have a love interest. It makes it seem like she's there to support her friends' stories instead of having her own. And something else stands out, the lack of diversity in the casting of the love interests. All of them are white. For a movie that comes from a brand built on multiculturalism, that feels like a missed opportunity. What makes this even clearer is when you compare it to the Bratz animated films. In those movies, the love interests were actually diverse. It reflected the world the dolls came from. Now, let's take a look at what happened behind the scenes. This was also very interesting to know because the failure of this film wasn't just creative, it was also corporate. During the time this movie was being made, MGA Entertainment, who owned Bratz, were in a massive lawsuit with Mattel, the company behind Barbie. Mattel claimed that the Bratz doll concept was created by a former Mattel employee while still working for them. So technically, Mattel tried to sue Bratz out of existence. This lawsuit split MGA's attention and budget. Instead of creatively investing in the film, the company was fighting to keep the brand alive legally. This affected the film budget, the marketing effort, the writing and development time. Hollywood studios also didn't take Bratz seriously. Instead of hiring writers who understood the Bratz identity and culture, they brought in people who clearly didn't care about the Bratz legacy. The script was rushed, poorly researched, and poorly planned. Now let's look at how the film performed. So the Rotten Tomatoes score 10%. The budget was 20 million US dollars, and at the box office they made 26 million dollars. So they barely broke even. Critics called it painful to watch, soulless, Hollywood misunderstanding girlhood again. So let's talk about dream casting. So when I was looking online, I saw a few suggestions of who people thought would be a good addition to the Bratz universe. So first of all, we have Ryan Destiny or Marseille Martin for Sasha. A lot of other names came up, but I definitely think Ryan Destiny would be a great fit. She's talented, beautiful. She fits the dark skin representation Bratz always had. And for Yasmin, I thought Lee Rodriguez or Leslie Grace would be great for a modern Afro Latina casting. And for Chloe, hands down, Sabrina Carpenter would be a great fit. Or someone like Dove Cameron could work visually and personality wise. And for Jade, there's a few. We could have Lana Condor or Minnie Mills or Won Young Jang. And they keep Jade's East Asian identity intact. I don't know, guys, but let me know in the comments who you think would make good Bratz dolls, or if they should go with up and coming actresses instead of established ones. Now, despite all of this, a lot of people still genuinely enjoy this movie. Why? It isn't because it captured Bratz accurately, because it didn't. People love it for the nostalgia, for sleepovers, for just the time capsule of the 2000s teen films. It has that harmless, fun movie vibe. So, yes, I understand why people enjoy it. But nostalgia shouldn't erase criticism. It's okay to say, I enjoy this film, but it still failed Bratz. Both things can be true. And if this movie had respected the Bratz identity, it could have been so much better. A real Bratz movie should have had accurate casting, strong fashion identity, cultural representation in the right way, music and ambition, real villains, and a plot driven by friendship and personality, not cliches. And the 2007 film may have flopped, but Bratz didn't. The brand survived because fans kept it alive. To put it quite simply, the Bratz movie failed because it didn't understand Bratz. It ignored what made the brand powerful. It was a movie made by people who didn't respect the original audience. It stripped away cultural representation and replaced it with stereotypes. And the sad part is, it didn't really have to be this way. Bratz deserved better. The girls deserved better. We, the fans, just deserved better. So, my question to you is, should Bratz get a reboot? And if so, what and who would you want to see in it? Let me know in the comments. And thank you for watching.